The 2025 NHL Entry Draft is over, and the Boston Bruins have made all their picks. The NHL went with a different format for the draft, and I have some thoughts about that. What comes next for these prospects, and so much more on the next episode of Bruins Diehards. So buckle up, Bruins fans. I'm here to give you the latest info about your beloved Boston Bruins. If you've been liking my Bruins content, please leave me a like and subscribe. If you've already done so, thank you, and let's get into it. This was the first decentralized draft for the NHL, and it was something, all right. The GMs and all the front office was not present in LA for the draft, but the players being drafted were. And before you get all mad at Gary Bettman, the reason for all this came about was because the GMs voted 26 out of 32 that they wanted the draft to go this way. They said it saved on travel time and it allowed them to have more private conversations. Steve Yzerman was one of the biggest voices to want this type of draft. As fans, I thought this draft was a disaster from watching standpoint, and I felt bad for the players getting drafted as well. The consistent audio and video issues were endless, and I felt like the teams did not prepare for this as well as they should have on their end. Did the NHL not even test this all out first? You had celebrities making picks like they did in Vegas, and Boston had Adam Sandler as Happy Gilmore make their first pick, which was cool and all, but I wish it was done in person instead of by video. Like, Sandler lives in LA. Last year in Vegas, the draft seemed like a party and everyone was enjoying themselves, and it was entertaining to watch. This year, it felt cold and disorganized and took forever to do. They had to delay announcing a trade that happened hours earlier to make excitement from the draft. When James Higgins was drafted by the Bruins, he goes up on stage only to be taken into a room with screens everywhere, and the audio didn't work from Cam and Don. They all stood there awkwardly. I would think the players would want to meet with the organization and shake their hands and talk to them in person. They had a countdown clock on the screen that didn't seem to matter, and every time a player went to talk to the team, the audio delay was noticeable, and you could actually hear the audio on the other side. It just felt awkward. The draft to me is for the players getting picked, and what they did in Vegas previously should be the standard moving forward, because what they did in LA ain't it. The good news from all this is the NHL will not be doing this again, and Steve Yzerman can go yell at clouds like an old man. Now that I've done reviewing the draft itself, let's get into who the Boston Bruins picked. On day one, as I mentioned in a previous video, the Boston Bruins selected James Higgins with the 7th pick in the 2025 NHL Entry Draft. I spoke about Higgins in length in the video, but I truly hope he's the future #1 center for the Boston Bruins. I strongly believe he will not dress for the Bruins until 26-27 season, though. As I said before, Sweeney did not go off the board and did select the best player available, which in the past has not been the case. I will leave a link in the description for my breakdown on Higgins. We have spent the past years as Bruins fans watching the Bruins pick players that most thought would be bottom 6 players in the first round. The picks is when the Boston Bruins rarely take the best player available, and it always seems to be like a project. From time to time, they did this, and I look at like John Beecher and Trent Frederick as prime examples of guys that they didn't need to take in the first round. They always seem to look for two-way play, but very little skill at times. Yes, they've taken the likes of Charlie McAvoy, David Pastrnak, and Jake DeBrusk, but rarely take the best player available. I would say it's safe to say that Don Sweeney's mantra for the 2025 NHL Entry Draft was this. Anytime he was asked about the type of player he was taking, he continued to say, the best player available. Not only did he take the best player available, he took more skill than he's usually done in a draft, which is highly uncharacteristic of him. I always knock the Bruins for their drafting, and frankly, so do a lot of people, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but as of right now, they look to have had a good draft. Now, it's too early to tell, but I feel a sense of optimism with these picks. The Boston Bruins made 7 picks in this year's draft, and 5 of them were in the first 100 picks. You can't even say they made picks based on needs because they didn't choose one right shot defenseman or a goaltender in this draft. They took a lot of skill and size, James Higgins being the smallest player they took at 5'11". Also, I want to add that Higgins isn't small by any means, and for comparison, one of the best players over the past 20 years in the NHL, Sidney Crosby, is 5'11 as well. I saw a stat saying not one team in the draft this year selected a defenseman under the height of 6 foot, which is crazy. Ty Anderson asked Ryan Nadeau, who is the director of amateur scouting for the Boston Bruins, if they had a change in philosophy this year. Nadeau said, I think having more picks and having some higher picks allowed us to probably look at some players with a bit more offensive ability and upside that sometimes in this area we tend to be picking. We didn't have some of those players available or the players that were. There's a lot of risk associated sometimes with that player, whether they're undersized, whether they're physically undeveloped, or whether they're just real major lack of detail in their game. Where there's other players sitting there at the same spot where you really appreciate the attention to detail, their heaviness, or their hardness. We didn't shy away from some of that. I just think we ended up in a spot this year where we could really take some swings at some higher upside offensive players that maybe in the past we hadn't had as many swings of that kind of player. This right here is great to see because it does show a shift in how the Bruins are approaching things moving forward. Because let's face it, the Bruins are a team in transition right now, out of the old and in with the new. Whether some fans like it or not, that's the reality we're in. It's not like the Bruins went out and drafted undersized players, but they're leaning to more skill and taking the best player available and taking more risks, which in the past I felt like they only drafted bottom six players most of the time. Now, I'm going to break down the players they took after Higgins, but I want to start off by saying not every player makes the NHL. I know a lot of you know this, but I feel it's important to temper expectations. From what I've seen on social media, the Bruins' consensus is that they had a good draft, but what does that even mean? Until the kids play an NHL game, or at least 100 NHL games, it's very difficult to tell. Dobber Prospects has a graph that shows the percentage of players that play over 100 games in the NHL based on the rounds. Of course, the first round is the highest, with 37.3% of players playing at least 100 games in the NHL, but the number drops after that quickly, with the second round being at 17.2% and the third round being at 13.7%. In the past, the Bruins have historically done better in later rounds, but I think that's also because they rarely pick in the first round. But they found some gems after the first round. With the 51st pick in the second round of the NHL Entry Draft, the Boston Bruins select Will Moore. Moore appeared in 64 games for the U.S. U18 national team of the National Development Program during the 24-25 season, recording 27 goals and 32 assists for 59 points. The 6'3", 181-pound forward ranks second in scoring and tied for second in goals for the U.S. U18 national team. In 23-24, Moore appeared in 50 games for the U.S. U17 national team, totaling 23 goals and 20 assists for 43 points. Internationally, Moore won bronze with the United States at the 2025 IIHF U18 World Championship, tallying 11 points in 7 tournament games. Moore was also a member of the United States silver medal winning team at the 2023 World Under-17 Hockey Challenge, where he led the tournament in scoring with 12 points and was named to the tournament's All-Star team. Funny enough, Moore has dual citizenship like myself. He was actually born in Mississauga, Ontario, and is committed to Boston College for 2025-26 season. Now, Moore adds to a long list of Bruins prospects that will be playing at Boston College next year, or as they now are being known as the Boston College Bruins. Will Moore was rated a lot higher on most draft rankings, and a lot felt like the Bruins got a steal here with this pick. Many scouts really do feel that Moore will be a player in the NHL someday. They got him around a middle six player. He was the second center drafted by Boston, which they can have never too many of them because they need to restock that cupboard. Dominic Tiano's scouting report on him is as follows. Moore's game is built around intelligence, vision, and playmaking. At 6'3", 180 pounds, he has the size NHL teams covet at center. He's known for his ability to read the ice, make crisp passes, and create scoring opportunities for his teammates. While his skating and physicality are still developing, scouts praise his two-way potential and his willingness to contribute in all situations, including the penalty kill. Hopefully Moore pans out, but we won't see him for a couple years, even if he does. The Bruins' next selection in the second round came 10 picks later at 61 overall, and that's Liam Pettersson. Pettersson is touted as a skilled puck-moving left-shot defenseman who the Bruins could certainly use more of, but by no means is close to playing in the NHL. Pettersson appeared in 39 games with the Lakers HC of the Swedish J20 National League during the 2024-25 season. He led defensemen in scoring, recording 6 goals and 15 assists for 21 points. The 6'2", 170-pound blue liner also appeared in 7 games for the club's J18 team and 5 games for the team in the Swedish Hockey League. In 2023-24, the Glasvid Sweden native skated in 14 games for Vaxjo J18 team in the Swedish J18 Region League, notching 1 goal, 12 assists for 13 points. I saw a lot of buzz around this pick as well. It stuck with the theme we saw with the Boston Bruins this draft, and that's skilled players being drafted. At 6'2", Peterson is no pushover, but he isn't a right shot, which the Bruins are very thin on. The Bruins did say they will pick the best player available, which for them was Pettersson. As I mentioned before, he's ways away from playing in the NHL, but maybe one day. Dom's report on him says Pettersson's game is built around his skating. At 6'2", 170 pounds, he moves with fluidity that allows him to cover the ground quickly, both in transition and in defensive recovery. His edge work and lateral mobility are standout traits, enabling him to evade forechecks and carry the puck out of his zone with confidence. He's particularly effective in transition, where he uses his vision and passing ability to spark offensive rushes. Dom also adds Pettersson is not shy shy when it comes to using the body, but his defensive game still needs work. At 18 years old, he has a lot of time to develop ahead of him and hopefully can be a top 6 defender for the Bruins in the future. I'm only going to use Dom's reports for the second round players, but I will leave a link in the description down below for Dom's site, which I highly recommend you check out, as he did a profile for every player the Bruins drafted this year. In the third round, the Boston Bruins selected 79th overall left winger Cooper Simpson. Simpson appeared in 31 games for the Shakopee High School during 24-25 season. He led Minnesota high school skaters in goals and ranked 4th in scoring, recording 49 goals and 34 assists for 83 points. The 6-foot, 180-pound forward also played 9 games with the Tri-City Storm of the United States Hockey League in 2024-25, tallying 7 goals and 1 assist for 8 points. He appeared in 31 games with Tri-City during the 23-24 season, recording 7 goals and 6 assists for 13 points. Simpson has skated in 108 career games with the high school 2021 to 2025, totaling 139 goals and 100 assists for 239 points. The Shakopee, Minnesota native skated in 5 games with the United States U18 team at the 2024 Hlinka Gretzky Cup. Simpson is committed to play at the University of North Dakota for the 2025-26 season. Again, the Bruins got praise for taking the skill and speed again with this draft. The Bruins traded down with the Montreal Canadiens to get Simpson, trading their 69th pick, nice, for the 79th pick. These type of things always puzzle me. As the player is available, take him, but some feel you shouldn't take the player early when you know the guy you want will be available later. Mind you, in the past, the Bruins always took players early. In the 4th round, the Bruins selected Vasek Blanar, who is a left shot defenseman that seriously wasn't even ranked, and not many even heard of him. The Bruins didn't even have a photo for their graphic. Blanar skated in 38 games with IF Trojan, I can't even, of the Swedish J18 Region League during the 2024-25 season, recording 6 goals and 15 assists. He led defensemen and ranked 4th among all skaters in scoring. The 6'4", huge boy, 183-pound defenseman also appeared in 4 games with the club's J20 team, notching 1 assist. Funny enough, Blanar was born in Vail, Colorado, before moving to Czechia. In 2023-24, he played in 28 games as the captain for HC of the Swedish J18 Division I League. There's not a chance I'm going to say the team's name there. Collecting 16 goals and 22 assists for 38 points. Hopefully this is one shrewd move by Sweeney as he plays in the NHL someday, because everybody who asked him, Sweeney kind of chuckled and had that look on his face like, I got one over everybody here, because no one saw this one coming. In the 5th round, the Bruins selected center Cole Chandler with the 133 overall pick. Chandler skated in 64 games with the Shawinigan Cataractes of the Quebec Maritime Junior League. My dad actually used to play for the Shawinigan Bruins, recording 13 goals and 19 assists for 32 points. The 6'2", 176-pound forward appeared in 25 games with Shawinigan in 23-24, tallying 3 goals and 7 assists for 10 points. The Bedford, Nova Scotia native was a member of Team Canada's gold medal winning team in 2024 World Under-17 Hockey Challenge, recording 2 assists in 8 games. The odds of Chandler ever playing an NHL game are stacked against him, but this was the Bruins' first pick that wasn't a college or European player. The Bruins have a strong tendency to select college hockey players more than most teams in the NHL. I'm not saying it's a bad thing, it's just something I noticed. With their last pick in the 2025 NHL Entry Draft, the Boston Bruins selected center Kirill Yamalanov. Yamalanov skated with 35 games with the Loko Yaroslav of Russian Moldania MHL during the 2024-25 season, recording 13 goals and 10 assists for 23 points. I know I have a hard time saying teams' names and these European players, but honestly, they're hard. We'll get used to it. Once I hear something, it's easier for me. Reading it or trying to even pronounce it by reading it just doesn't work out for me. The 6', 170-pound forward ranked tied for 4th in goals and tied for 6th in points among his skaters. The Russian native appeared in 44 games with Loko in 2023-24, tallying 10 goals and 10 assists for 20 points. Russian-born players are generally selected late in the draft nowadays because their tendency to be held hostage by their club team or the KHL team, which can cause issues when the NHL wants to bring them over to North America. We'll see how he pans out in the future, or if he ever comes to North America. A lot of times with these picks, you'll notice that the team tries to bring them over, it doesn't work out, or the player doesn't want to come here, and then they just end up getting traded and another team brings the guy over. All in all, the Bruins took skill, fast players who, oddly enough, are all left shot. I think the Bruins did well at the draft, and I'm genuinely excited about the future. But what does it all mean? Until they all play, we'll honestly never know. But if the strategy is now turned to taking speed and skill mixed with two-way play, the new look Boston Bruins, I'm excited for them. Getting Hagens at number 7 is huge and could turn out to be the steal of the draft. I doubt we have to wait too long to see him play, but seriously doubt he will be playing for the Boston Bruins in this upcoming season. I want to hear from you though. What do you think of the NHL draft this year? How do you think the Bruins did? And what are you most excited about for the future of the Boston Bruins? That's a wrap on today's video. To stay up to date on all the news surrounding the Boston Bruins, please subscribe and drop me a like. If news breaks around the Boston Bruins, be sure to check out the channel. If you've already subscribed to the channel, thank you, and I'll see you next time.